No, I really fucked up. Mm, 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 mm. You know, I really fucked up. Hello, people. It's coming. Hi, Brishante. Hi, Reneezy. Hey, you guys. Happy Friday. Hi, Cameron. Hi, Jordan. Nada. Hope I'm saying that right. Dominique. Hola, Christina. Nyala. Nyala. I hope Nyala. Trees. Haitian Tim. No, I don't, Reneezy. I don't even know who that is. Okay, you guys. So I logged on today because a lot of you aren't familiar with me as an author. You only know me from this YouTube shit. But I'm a best-selling author. Been a best-selling author since 2004. I've been a published author. I have over 21 novels. Hi T. Hi Ty Bivens. T Bivens. Hope I'm saying your name right. I always say it wrong. Whatever. Hey girl. The Damnation season finale was lit. I hope they get a season two. It's up in the air. But anywho, hey Kim Barnes, hey Miss Hawk. So anywho, what I said I was gonna start doing is incorporating more of my book stuff over here into YouTube. So when I'm about to drop a new release, I was going to start coming on YouTube and reading the excerpt from the book. So my YouTube audience that isn't familiar with me as an author can get, familiar with my work and my writing style and all that good shit. And if you're a reader, then hopefully this will make you want to go buy one of my fabulous books. Such a Fucking Lady, my fifth novel in my China Black series, will be out at the end of this month. I'm so excited about the release. It is one of my best-selling series. The anticipation for this book has been so great. The response on social media has been bananas. I can't wait for it to drop and for those of you who read my work to read it. It's 400 pages of goodness. Longest book that I've written thus far. Those of you that are familiar with China Black, she is my alter ego. If you want to know more about me personally as a person and my journey from the age of 15 up until now at the age of 36, you will get to know me reading this series. The book is based loosely on my life. The first book is 75% true, other 25% make believe. Emotionally Unavailable is 100% true. 90% true, 10% fiction. Heartless, part true, part fiction. Radio Silence, part true, part fiction. And Such a Fucking Lady, part true, part fiction. So if you want to know me and my journey and all the crazy shit that I've been through in my life, read the China Black series. It is super lit. Buzzworthy TV just wanted to let you know that you've inspired me to be an author. Been rocking with you since China Black. Thank you very much. Mina's joint, not Nikki's joint, but thank you very much. I'm so happy, and congrats on becoming an author. You can get my books wherever books are sold: Amazon, BarnesandNobles.com, Target, Walmart, any major bookstores, mom and pop stores, anywhere books are available. Thank you very much, Diva66. So I'm just going to read the first chapter for you guys so you can get familiar with my work, and hopefully it will turn you on to wanting to go read my shit. So this is chapter 1. Uh for no problem, Buzzworthy. This is chapter 1 from Such a Fucking Lady. So strap on your seat belts and let's get it started. So I know a lot of you probably won't even know what the fuck is going on, but just rock with me. So all of my chapters start off with a song lyric. You know, I'm heavily into music, and all my song lyrics are like um little clues into what's going to happen into that chapter. So the song lyric that I chose for chapter 1 was SZA Supermodel song, and the chapter was Wish I Was Comfortable Just With Myself, But I Need You. So chapter 1, I fucking hate weddings. Motherfuckers all happy and shit. Little do they know, love don't last forever. China thought, rolling her eyes while taking a sip of champagne. It was her 6th glass, but she didn't care. She needed to get fucked up in order to sit through this romantic ass bullshit. China said with her short hair slicked back in a one-arm black skin tight gown that wrapped around her neck and showcased her bare left arm and toned back. A sultry dark smoky eye, pink blush, and nude lip gloss emphasized the features of on her oval shaped face. China Danae Black was a rare beauty. She had big brown eyes, long thick lashes, a button nose, sumptuous full lips, and dimples as deep as the Atlantic Ocean. Yeah, okay, anyway. She only reached 5'3" in height, but her take no prisoner attitude and cocky demeanor made her seem 10 feet tall. She had soft caramel 38 double D breasts that were more than a mouthful. Since she was a child, her breasts were a focal point of her looks. She used to hate them, but now she showed them off as much as possible. She was drop dead gorgeous. If she were taller, she could have been a supermodel, but as she sat alone nursing the chilled glass of champagne, her devastating good looks couldn't stop the loneliness she so desperately wanted to escape. China was in a room full of people, but she never felt more alone in her life. Everyone at Mo and Boss' wedding slow danced to Jagged Edge Gotta Be. China wanted to stab herself in the neck with a fork. Love was in the air and she wanted to vomit. I don't even know why the fuck I came, she sighed. She didn't know anyone there except for her friend Delicious. The only reason she came was because Delicious didn't want to come alone. But as soon as some light-skinned nigga that looked like Drake, I fucked him from across the room. China quickly became a distant memory. China was ready to go, but she'd rode to the wedding with Delicious. She couldn't leave until his funky ass was ready to go. She looked over to the dance floor and groaned. By the way he was slow dragging on Champagne Poppy Jr., there was no telling when they would be out of there. This is some straight bullshit, she inhaled deep inside. Everybody at the reception had someone but her. Even the little kids had found love on the dance floor. It had been months since China felt the touch of a man. China used to be a dick magnet, but lately no one was trying to get at her. If she did get hollered at, it was by some old ass man or a thirsty ass African professing his love in her DMs. Homegirl needed some dick and fast, and she didn't want just any old dick. She wanted a big, fat, juicy python dick with veins pulsating under the rigid, hard skin. Hey, Rakeem. Where was I at? I lost my spot. Okay. The old China would have hit up a club and threw her pussy at the first fine man she laid eyes on, but those days were over. She wanted something real. She was over having one night stands and giving her heart to men that didn't deserve her affection. At the age of 34, she'd only been in love 3 times. Each time ended in excruciating heartbreak. China didn't want to go through that ever again. Her last heartbreak almost ended her life. She still hadn't gotten over the man that who will not be named. He was the love of her life, but he who would not be named wanted nothing to do with her. China figured after a year of unanswered calls, emails, and texts that if she refused to say or hear his name, she'd get over him. A year had gone by and she still thought of him every day. She missed everything about him, from the way he smelled to the way his caramel skin tastes on the buds of her tongue. China thought about getting back out there and dating, but only he held the keys to her heart. She had to get over him. It was evident that they were through. He despised her and she couldn't blame him. She'd fucked up royally and made another dumb decision that cost her everything. Her biggest fear was coming true. China was destined to die alone. Since her 20s, she feared she'd be old and single just like her mother. All she wanted was someone to love her unconditionally. Every man she ever gave her heart to promised to love her forever, but in the end, they all left. Maybe she was unlovable. She wasn't the easiest person to get along with or get close to. China had been through hell and back, which made her cold as ice. To say she was tough was an understatement. She didn't take shit from anyone and would cut you deep if you crossed her. She had a foul mouth and a short temper. Outside of her readers and YouTube audience, China didn't have very many friends. Her circle was super small. Her best friends since the age of 10, Brooke and Asia, best friends since the age of 10. Brooke and Asia put up with her because they knew deep down inside she was a softie. The only reason she and Delicious became friends is because they fucked the same man and loved each other's fashion sense. Brooke, Asia, and Delicious were her only friends. China didn't mind not having many friends. She was a loner at heart. If she wasn't with one of them, she was with her 17-year-old daughter, India. Soon, India will be turning 18. She was a junior in high school. The dread of knowing she would be graduating school soon was killing her softly. When India went off to college, she'd be all alone. Loneliness would swallow her whole. She wouldn't be able to survive it. China didn't do well when she had too much idle time on her hands. She often ended up acting out and doing some shit she had no business doing. Since he who would not be named broke up with her, she buried herself in her work. China was a best-selling author, writer for the hit TV show The Girlfriend Experience, and YouTube star. Instead of stressing over her ex and letting random guys bang her back out, she wrote several best-selling novels, two which were based on her life, called Heartless and Radio Silence. Radio Silence was a love letter to the last man to ever share her bed and capture her heart. She hoped that he would read it and see just how much she loved him. She needed him to see that she'd never betray his trust. He was her lifeline. No other man came before or after him. Her heart belonged to him and only him. She would give her last dollar, limb, breath, and heartbeat to have him back. Days, weeks, and months passed by, but it never got easier to be without him. He was perfect for her in her eyes. China wished she could be comfortable being by herself, but her life wouldn't be complete until she had he who would not be named back in her arms. I'm reading the excerpt from my book, Alyssa. China, me and love abuse, but China seems over the top mean. She is. And she is me, Kim Barnes. Where was I at? No. Okay, inhaling deep, she sat up and stretched her back. I'm stretched. Her back was killing her, and the Spanx she wore were cutting off her circulation. She couldn't wait to get home and pull the depth trap off. China wanted nothing more than to curl up in bed with a pint of ice cream and watch her favorite movie, Clueless, for the 100th time. She wore the badass Valentino gown for nothing. Nobody was checking for her, which irked the fuck out of her. Everyone was booed up and in love. Over 100 people were at the reception, and there wasn't an eligible bachelor in attendance. China didn't think the night could get any worse until the DJ began to spin John B's classic hit song, They Don't Know. The song used to be her and her ex Tyreek's song. It's time for me to go. China shook her head. She didn't want to be reminded of another unrequited love she lost. She didn't care if she had to hitchhike home, she would. There was no way in hell she was going to sit through the torture of hearing John B's smooth, velvety voice sing his heart out to the woman he loved. The song did nothing but remind China just how miserable she was. Grabbing her gold clutch purse, she rose to her feet. As she stood and smoothed down the front of her dress, she couldn't help but feel a set of eyes boring to her. The hair on her arm stood up. A cold chill swept over her entire body. China looked around to see who was watching her when her heart dropped down to her pedicured toes. For a second, she thought she was dreaming. China's mind was obviously playing tricks on her. There was no way he was there. Before she knew it, her feet started moving. The bottom of her gown flapped as she quickly walked across the room to him. She had to make sure he was real. China stopped and stood inches away from him. Her chest heaved up and down as her body quaked. This can't be real, she thought. If it was, she didn't know what she'd do. She dreamt of this moment for months, but as time went on, she never thought it would come true. Slowly, she raised her hand to caress his face. As soon as her palm ran across the prickly hair on his cheek, China's eyes watered with tears. This was real. He wasn't a figment of her imagination. She didn't know how long he'd been there. It didn't matter. All that mattered was that he was. The air in her lungs felt lighter and clearer than it ever had before. She promised him that she'd wait a lifetime for him. As he stood before her, she realized she'd wait for him even beyond the grave. Tears slipped from her eyes and landed on his crisp white button-up shirt. He wore a $5,000 custom-made Tom Ford tuxedo. The tuxedo was molded to his body. His muscular biceps shone through the expensive fabric. He was just as beautiful as she remembered. His low haircut was freshly cut and lined. His bushy brows, piercing almond-shaped mocha eyes, scruffy beard, and tantalizing lips caused her pussy to cream with desire. He towered over her at 5'11" and weighed 185 pounds. His lean, athletic physique and tattoos that graced his face, neck, chest, back, arms, and hands added to his bad boy demeanor. China wanted to place 1,000 kisses all over his honey-colored skin. Instead, she ran her small hand down his neck, broad shoulders, and long arms. She didn't stop till she grasped his hand and brought it up to her lips. Lovingly, she kissed the outside of his tattooed hand. Closing her eyes, she ran his hand across her cheek. The smell of his cologne engulfed her senses as she became lost in his touch. Unable to contain herself, China wrapped her arms around his neck and held him as tight as she could. She could feel his breath hitch as she touched him, but China didn't care. She wanted to let him go. She never wanted to let him go. Her breast pressed up against his hard chest as she cried what felt like a million tears. It wasn't until that moment that she realized just how much she missed his presence in her life. Yeah, girl, her ex is at the reception. Yes, girl. I'm glad y'all liking it. Okay, so where was I again? Okay, LA stood there as stiff as a board as she held on to him for dear life. He hated the feel of her arms wrapped around his neck. Everything she touched, she tainted. If he would have known China was going to be there, he wouldn't have come to the wedding. He done his best to avoid her for a year. He done a damn good job until now. He knew if he ever laid eyes on her, he'd cave. He couldn't get sucked into her deceitful web of lies again. She done damage that was irreparable. Every inch of him still loved her, but he would never forgive her. As far as he was concerned, China Danae Black was the devil. She'd warned him not to fall in love. She told him she'd only end up breaking his heart in the end, but like a fool, he didn't listen. It wasn't until he saw pics of her on Instagram naked at her ex-boyfriend and his former friend Carlos' house that he learned his lesson. She embarrassed him and tarnished the love he had for her. He done nothing but show her how real love looked and felt like, and she returned the favor by shitting on him. He missed her and her daughter, India, terribly, but once he was done, there was no turning back. He could never trust her again. Her word was nothing to him. He wanted nothing else to do with her. LA wanted to push her away. The feel of her arms wrapped around his neck made him feel like he was suffocating, but he couldn't move his limbs. Unbeknownst to him, the need to feel her up against him surpassed his want to rid himself of her. China was his heart. He loved her ever since the first time he laid eyes on her. He needed her just as much as she needed him. She was the first woman he ever loved. He tried turning off his feelings for her, but it was impossible. She was just as pretty as he remembered. LA could stare into her warm chocolate eyes for the rest of his days and never tire. She was low-key his favorite person on the planet. He followed her to the depths of the earth and back. Unable to resist her any longer, he hesitantly wrapped his arms around her small waist. LA let out a long sigh of relief. This was what his body needed. LA buried his nose in her hair and inhaled her mesmerizing scent. This woman was etched in his veins. He could never rid himself of her. Having her back in his embrace was the best feeling in the world. He'd been miserable without her. Yeah, his name is LA. I know that's right. Send me the number. And come on, he took her by the hand and led her out of the ballroom. In a daze, China followed behind him, trying her best not to trip over the hem of her dress. He was walking so quickly she could barely keep up. Everything was moving so fast. One minute she wanted to go home and slit her wrist, and the next she was being whisked off by the man she laid down and died for. Before she knew it, he got in the room, and the room key was being placed in the door. Nervous butterflies fluttered around in the pit of her stomach. She dreamed about this moment for a year. Now it was coming true. God, you really do fuck with your girl, she thought as LA closed the door and pressed her body up against the wall. China's breath hitched as his fingertips traced her wanting lips, then roamed down the curves of her waist, past her hips and down to her feet. LA never took his eyes off of her as he lifted her dress, revealing her legs that were doused in gold shimmer lotion. China tried to steady her breathing. His touch sent shock waves of electricity throughout her body. LA wasn't wasting any time. He wanted her naked. It had been a year since he last laid eyes on her luscious physique. He snuck peeks at her Instagram page to appease his cravings, but that wasn't enough. He needed the flesh of her skin to be pressed against the palm of his hands. Despite how angry he was with her, China was his and she always would be. Every night when he lay down to sleep and closed his eyes, she was there. Her bewitching beauty controlled him. He wanted to promise her the world and everything in it, but the cracks in his heart grew deeper as he gazed into her big brown eyes. China lifted her arm so she could pull her dress off over her head. LA stepped back and praised her sultry frame. She stood before him in nothing but a black lace thong and a pair of black Louboutin Socate heels. Her legs looked 5 inches longer than they were. China was a goddess. Her teardrop-shaped caramel breast begged to be tortured by his tongue. LA's conscience reminded him that this was a bad decision. You should end this now, he thought, but his feet stayed planted firm. China's chest heaved up and down. She'd never been so vulnerable in her life. She couldn't tell what he was thinking as he stared at her. A mixture of lust and hate played on his face. Exposed physically and emotionally, she covered her breast with her arms. Tears stung the brim of her eyes. He'd already changed his mind. He didn't want her anymore. China held her head back so the tears in her eyes wouldn't fall. She made a fool out of herself. She was foolish to think he'd magically forgiven her. LA saw the torment on her lovely face. Making her cry was the last thing he wanted to do. If her feelings were anything like his, then she'd suffered enough. Fuck this. He cupped her cheeks with both his hands and kissed her passionately. Y'all stupid. Fuck this. He cupped her cheeks with both his hands and kissed her passionately. China's body fell limp in his strong arms. His kisses sucked the life out of her. Weakly, she stroked the back of his neck and pulled him closer. LA's tongue danced around hers as he lifted her off the ground. He carried her in his arms as if she weighed nothing. Instinctively, China wrapped her legs around his waist. LA held her in his arms, becoming lost in each stroke of her wicked tongue. He never experienced a love like this again. Deep down, he knew it. She was the love of his life. I fucking hate you, he growled, biting her bottom lip. I know. China wrapped her legs around him tighter. I told myself I was over you, LA whispered in between kisses. China abruptly stopped kissing him and ran her hand over the top of his head. You ain't never getting over me, because I'm here. She laid her small palm over his rapidly beating heart. LA wanted to tell her she had it all wrong, but that would be a lie. Instead of disputing her claims, he threw her down onto the bed. China's back bounced against the expensive sheets. Quietly, she watched as LA stood at the head of the king-size bed. The room was dark except for a sliver of light shining from the moon through the window. The light hit LA perfectly as he stripped naked before her. He took his time. He wanted the woman that had broken his heart into two to see what she'd been missing the past few months. China swallowed hard as he removed his tuxedo jacket and began to unbutton his white shirt. Suddenly, his muscular tan physique came into view. He'd gotten buffer in the time they spent apart. He wasn't bodybuilder big. His body was more on the athletic side, which was perfect in her eyes. His pectoral muscles and abs reminded her of an African god. A graffiti wall of tattoos decorated his upper half. A tattoo of a cross stretched across his chest with the words dedication and loyalty tattooed above. Over his six-pack was the words Money Gang with the portrait of Benjamin Franklin under it. Two new full sleeve of tattoos covered each of his arms. She studied them later to see what they all were. Right now, she wanted his magnificent body on top of hers. She was just about to help him out of his pants when she spotted another tattoo. China sat up on her elbows to get a closer look. Her eyes nearly popped out of her head. In cursive script going across the bottom of his waistline right above his dick was the words China Danae Black. LA didn't even bat an eye as she covered her mouth in surprise. China couldn't believe her eyes. During their time apart, he hadn't reached out or answered any of her calls, but her name was etched into his skin forever. Goddamn, you're the most beautiful thing I've ever laid eyes on, LA said, removing his pants and boxer briefs in one full sweep. I know, China replied, parting her legs as he lay on top of her. Cocky motherfucker, he grinned, brushing her hair out of her face. You love it. Studying her angelic face, LA wondered how someone could be so gorgeous yet so evil. China gazed back at him. His almond-shaped eyes mesmerized her. He was so fucking fine it wasn't fair. China cocked her head to the side and pressed her lips against his. There was no more time to waste. LA had to have her now. Slowly, he slid the thick ridge of his cock across her slit. China's back arched from arousal. LA could feel her body shake beneath him. Please, Lucas, fuck me. I need to feel you inside me, she begged. Hearing her call him by his government name sent LA over the edge. Holding her to him, he kissed her lips and thrust his long 10-inch dick into her opening. China let out a loud cry of pleasure and pain. As soon as LA sank into her, a soft moan escaped his lips. China was so tight he could hardly fit. Her pussy squeezed his dick to the point of agony, but it felt good. He was only a few strokes in and already wanted to come. LA stopped mid-stroke and gave her a questioning look. Why the fuck you so tight? I told you I would wait on you forever, she admitted as a tear slid from her eye. Hearing those words only made his dick harder. Closing his eyes, LA relished the feel of her pussy. I hate y'all. Okay, where was I at? Okay, China held her breath as he fucked her long and slow. She'd forgotten just how big he was. His dick filled her to capacity. She could feel him all the way in her lungs. Reaching between her thick thighs, he thumbed her clit gently. Her body was so tense he couldn't fight her. He couldn't fuck her the way he wanted to. After a few strokes, LA felt her pussy walls relax and the tension around his dick ease. Beyond wet and ready for for him. China began to move her hips. I love you. She gripped his back and matched him thrust for thrust. I know he gritted his teeth to keep from coming. LA's head was spinning. This wasn't supposed to be happening. He hated not being in control of his emotions. China was the only person that made him feel this way. She was absolutely maddening, but he couldn't stay away from her if he tried. Picking up the pace, he fucked her harder and deeper. His thumb still toyed with her clit as she called out his name. LA, she whimpered. That's it, baby. Let me feel you, he instructed, hypnotized by her moans. China fell into the moment as sweat bubbled on her skin. LA had never been more turned on in his life. He wanted to leave traces of himself all over her body. He planned on fucking her until her cunt was swollen and sore. Lovingly, he kissed her neck and palmed a fistful of her hair. His warm breath tickled her neck as his other hand pinched her nipple. Lucas, China bucked and moaned as her heels dug into his back. Pumping in and out of her with long strokes, LA brought her to ecstasy repeatedly. Her pussy convulsed over and over, soaking him with her sweet eternal nectar. Relentlessly, he fucked her nonstop in several positions. China came so many times her head began to spin. By her fifth orgasm, she didn't think she could take anymore. That didn't stop her pussy from aching with want and need. It was dripping wet and begging for more of his swollen cock. LA could feel her walls melt as they both neared another orgasm. Pinning her arms above her head, he gazed deep into her eyes and said, "Marry me." China's mouth formed the perfect O shape. Shock and awe was written all over her face as she came long and hard all over his dick. "Are you serious?" she gasped. "Yes," he nodded. "Yes, baby. Yes, I'll marry you," she cried. She couldn't believe he'd asked her to marry him. Maybe weddings aren't so bad after all, she thought. China's wails of pleasure and the fact that she loved him enough, that she loved him enough to say yes only fueled LA's insatiable appetite for her. Flipping her over onto her stomach, he placed her on all fours and began to pound into her from behind. They had months of love making to make up for. On another level of ecstasy, he growled as she begged him to come inside her. LA rested his chest on her back and licked her earlobe. Soon her pussy would be full of his seed. The head of his dick was throbbing and ready to burst. Unable to hold back any longer, he filled her belly with his cum, pumping load after load into her. Engrossed in the moment, they lay with their bodies locked together, sweating and panting. LA placed small kisses on her forehead, eyelids, nose, cheeks, and lips. China enjoyed each kiss, praying to God that they could stay like this forever. He asked her to be his wife. She had nothing to worry about. The time apart had healed all their old wounds. Whatever brought them to this place didn't matter. China wasn't going to question it. She finally had her baby back, and she never planned on letting him go. After years and years of heartache, tears, and nonstop drama, her happily ever after was finally coming to fruition. And that's chapter 1. Let me read y'all comments. Gonna have me in the y'all are ignorant. I need him. I love that. It makes me miss having a girlfriend. That sucks. Oh snap, she got the marriage vagina China. Yeah, I know that's right. Secure the bag, China. Thank you, Mind Over Matter. This has to be a dream. I hope not. Loved it. Thank you, Kiana. Thank you all very much. I'm so happy you read like chapter 1. I'm telling y'all, from there on, it's a roller coaster fucking ride. You will never know which way this book is going to go. China's fictional love life, sex life is way better than mine, nigga. Fuck them, then I get some money. Hey, fuck them, then I get some money. Yeah, this book is off the chain. It's so funny. It's a lot of sex. It's a lot of drama, backstabbing, secrets and lies, honey, unexpected plot twists, fashion, trips, music, all that good shit. No, it won't be available on Audible, only on Kindle, Nook, and paperback. It will be available. So if you follow me on social media, I don't do release dates. I drop my shit like Beyonce. So you all will know when it's released, when the cover drops. I keep my covers a secret until release date. So I'm so excited for you all to read it. I love this book. I had so much fun working on it. So you all know when I disappear for a week and I tell you I'm working on my book, I'm finishing up normally at that point in time in the book. So yeah, for those of you that have never read my work, hopefully now you will, and you'll get acquainted to that side of me. So when I do reviews on like Power or any of these different drama series, you'll understand why I say from a writer's point of view, I understand and I dislike certain things because I'm an author and I'm a writer myself. So I understand things and I can see things coming ahead of regular people because I'm a writer. So I know how other writers' minds work. So now y'all can get a glimpse into my life. So yeah, I'm so excited. It'll be out at the end of the month, Lady Gemini. Just follow me on Instagram. All of my social media information is always in the description box. Yeah, I'm so excited. Thank you, Kiana. Yeah, I do write books fast. I've gotten it down to a science. Normally, I write a book within like a month and a half, sometimes even that. Yeah, so of course, if she thinks she has her happily ever after in chapter 1, then you know she ain't got her happily ever after. Do we need to read the books before this? Yes, you will. The books before this, if you have a pencil and pen, is Emotionally Unavailable, then Heartless, then Radio Silence, then Such a Fucking Lady, which is about to come out at the end of the month. So the series is Emotionally Unavailable, Heartless, Radio Silence, Such a Fucking Lady. That is the complete order. And Emotionally Unavailable and Radio Silence are both available on Kindle Unlimited. So if you have Kindle Unlimited, you can read it for free. So that's a gift from me to you guys. Thank you, Lady Gemini. Girl, just wait. You're going to love it more than just LA in this book. I know a bitch trying a real good vagina. You know what? Or any some of my older work is, but I don't promote my older work because of my previous publishers. So don't purchase it because I ain't gonna get paid for it. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to that. I'm about to log off because what time is it? Is Married to Medicine on? Married to Medicine come on at 8. Yeah, I got to get ready for my Married to Medicine review. So be on the lookout for my Married to Medicine review tonight, you guys. Also, Spill the Tea from last week is up. Love and Hip Hop Miami and Black Ink Crew review and Wags LA review is up. Atlanta review is up right now. So go and check those videos out if you have not. Thank you, Lady Gemini. I don't promote China Black Child. That's one of my previous works. I ain't gonna get paid for it, like I said, buzzworthy. So I only promote the books that I publish myself. China's gonna be with. Love you guys so much. Thank you for listening so very much. And like I said, be on the lookout tonight for that Married to Medicine review. Bye, you guys. Love you and see you tomorrow for Spill the Tea, 5 p.m. Central Time. Don't even wait for the notification. Just make sure you log in at 5 p.m. Central Time. Got a lot of stories for you guys. Have a great night. Bye.